Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of the Boost Hud podcast. I know it has been a while since we have done another episode, but I promise come 2025, we are going to be back in full swing. So, as you can see, I have a new co-host or a different co-host today. You may have seen him behind the scenes or in front of the camera on our Instagram videos and pictures, TikToks, YouTube videos. But for those of you who don't know who he is, let me introduce him. He is the man, the myth, the master mechanic who knows all of the answers to all of our questions, Matthew. Welcome, Matthew.
Well, what's up, everybody? My name is Matt, and I am the chief janitor here. Clean the toilets, clean the floors, clean the office, clean the tools.
Don't listen to him, guys.
Work on the cars every now and then. Answer a couple of phone calls here and there, although we've been pretty busy, so that's been Elise's job, at least the last half a year, so to speak.
Yeah.
But no, all jokes aside, we collectively as a team, when I say I'm referencing, my past experience and skills, but we collectively have been digging deeper and deeper into the performance side.
Yes. Which you probably guys have seen through our social media accounts. And if you haven't, go check them out at ZNM Performance and at GADLE.LE, I should say, not GADLE, but yeah, continue.
So past 6 months, we've gotten pretty heavy into the performance stuff. For those of you that don't know, we picked up our GADM 3 back in September of 2022. It's funny because we just got the notice that the lease is going to mature soon in the next 8 months. So anywho, I don't want to make this too much of a long intro, but BMW enthusiasts recently have gotten into the Audi stuff. Been doing this for 18 years now.
Long time.
Makes me feel really old, but 18 years now. And I'll like to focus on the past, like I said, half a year, really what we've been doing here. And we'll save that stuff for the engine bills, the performance stuff. We'll save it for another podcast. But, as far as engine building goes, I don't consider myself an engine builder. The engine builder is actually the guy at the machine shop. That's the real MVP. That's the guy that's going to save your butt. And that's the guy that's going to make sure that, you make 1,000, 15, 18, 2,200 horsepower. The term engine builder is thrown around loosely or way too loose. But, we just assemble, we're more like parts assemblers, engine assemblers. The real OGs are the guys at the machine shop that doing all of your honing and machine work, head work, all of that stuff. And while I wish we had the millions of dollars that we need to have our own CNC equipment, we don't. So, Matt, hi, nice to meet you. Chief mechanic, all that fun stuff. I've been diagnosed with ADD and OCD at the same damn time, so I'd go off on rants. But we're going to focus real quick on this podcast on racing. So we've never taken any of our vehicles to a track before. And this year, due to one particular individual,
which we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I'll let Elise do the intro on that stuff. He's just a very expensive friend to have. But he's actually the main reason that, we finally went to the track. We've always been so busy answering your phone calls, working on the vehicles, working on the online store, getting the catalog done.
It was also like a long lost dream we had, but we just really didn't get into it until... which I'll go in depth in a bit, but until this individual came into our lives, him and his wife came into our lives, and basically we were like, you guys got to do it. Just do it. So.
Yeah, the whole point of this podcast is we're just going to talk about 2024 in relation to how we got involved with racing, and I'm going to kick back to Elise on that, and she'll run down the intro on that.
So, like I said, we have really good friend, client, customer, whatever you want to call them. R-Doka, K-Doka, P-Car Garage. You may know them by either one of those names. Him and his wife, specifically more so his wife, come, when was it? I would say probably like April-ish, May-ish, around there.
I would probably say around like May-ish.
Yeah. He was in here to do some work on one of his cars, and his wife came with him. It was the first time meeting her, and she was like, have you ever thought about racing? Like, specifically towards me. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but like, I wasn't really like 100% sure on it. And she's like, why don't you just come to one of the events with us? And I was like, a little apprehensive about it. And Matt just kept looking at me like, I think we should just do it. It's not expensive. Let's just go. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And basically, like, the icing on the cake for me was she was talking about how she races, because both of them race, but she specifically races. And she was like, you have to come, just try it out once. If you don't like it, cool. You did it. You've tried it. Next thing to move on to. But the icing on the cake was Matt's birthday was in June. And he was like, the best birthday gift you could give me would be you just going and trying to, like, go to one racing event and just try it. If you don't like it, fine. But he's like, that would be the best birthday gift, like, you could ever give me. So I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, I guess we'll try it. So both of them were like, next event is going to be a Friday. It was, I think, in June.
It was June 28th. And the difference on this particular event at Pocono was, I think it was the first time they ever did either a Friday event or a day event.
No, so
the gates opened at 8:30.
No, so here was the thing. So this, I think, was a makeup day for one of the days that they missed. And what it was, again, this was our first time. So usually their events are Saturday or Sunday at Pocono. This was a Friday event, and it was a late start, late end day. So it didn't start until, I think, like 11 or 12 o'clock.
You're right. It didn't start until 12 o'clock that day.
Yeah.
And that's why it was technically a first ever for RaceMotive.
And it ended, I think, at like 8, which basically everyone was pretty much done by like 7 o'clock, but everyone just hung out until 8. But it was, again, I was like, cool, we'll go. We'll take the day off. We'll ride out to Pocono. We had the X5 loaded up with like a bunch of tools and whatnot, fluids, just to make sure, like, God forbid anything happened to the G80. Again, first time driving the G80 on any sort of track. I'm inexperienced. Basically, our whole team, I think, is pretty much inexperienced. I think you had gone to Pocono once, but
I did Pocono for a SCCA track night once in the E92 M3, and
which is down for the count.
A little bit, yeah. That's a different setup though. That's more of like HPDE autocross setup.
Yeah.
The track was open. But roll racing, for you guys that don't know at home, is third mile roll racing. I believe 1,760 feet. You have your start cones, your end cones, and you have the only way to have your time verified is a verified run. You have to hit those cones no faster than 65.99 miles an hour. If you enter anything above 65 miles an hour, it's invalid, right?
Correct.
So you could come into the cones at 58. You can come into the cones at 62. Ideally, you want to be as close to 65 as possible. Although there's some theories on that whole start speed, but we'll get to that later on in the podcast. Yeah. And then you just go balls to the wall all the way until the end cones. So this was our first time. I don't think Nassim has ever been out there.
I hadn't been out there. I used to be relatively close to Pocono. I had never been out there, but I always heard it was a good time. So like I said, we took the X5 with all the stuff loaded up. We had jacks, the whole 9. I took the G80. We drove it out there. Again,
not a good idea, guys. It's not advised to drive your daily driver to the track. You should have a trailer.
Yes.
We'll get to that later in the podcast.
So anyway, rookie mistake number 1, drove the G80 out there instead of trailering it. It is what it is. Car has really, like, at that point in June when we had gone, the car really didn't have anything like I mentioned previously. It just had full titanium exhaust, excuse me. It had the complete coilover kit by Olin's, Road and Track. It also had just basically cosmetics done to it at that point. There was nothing else really done. There's nothing internally done at that point. And I had the race chip on at that time too. I forgot about that. So went out, watching for the like first hour or so, basically seeing how everything is going. Like Matt said, there's start cones where they wave you. So you start, and then basically once you hit the second set of cones, that's where you have to be at or below 65.99 miles an hour. And then basically from that start cone until the end is where you basically would race a third of a mile. And then basically you would loop around and you would come back, and then you would obviously, like, either you get it through your phone because they had live timing, or you could just, like, obviously get off the track, park the car, see what the live timing scoreboard showed. So I was watching for a little while. Again, newbie, inexperienced, never had gone on a track before. I wouldn't say I was nervous. I was more so like didn't know how to explain it. It was more like it was unexpected.
I don't think it's that you're necessarily inexperienced, but it comes down to, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Elise by saying she can't drive, but driving on a track is a completely different, not an experience. It's just you need a certain skill level, right? And a lot of folks don't seem to understand that this M3 is rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of you guys out there, and you may be either young dudes or whether you're experienced, and you're taking a car that has stock horsepower-ish, right? So 400, 500, and you're taking it up to 800, 900, 1,000 horsepower. And if you've only been doing that in an all-wheel drive car that's what you're used to. It takes a different level of skill to drive a manual rear-wheel drive car. So what I'm talking about is your drive axles. You have no control of the front drive axle. There is no front drive axle.
Yeah.
So you need to be ready for that ass end to slip out. And, you know, how do you counter that? How do you control it? God forbid anything happens, because you are entering that turn at Pocono, that left-hand turn. You're coming in hot at 120, 110. You
Which
gotta
I
be,
did.
Yeah, which you did. And you got to be ready to slam on the brakes.
Yeah. Or downshift like I did. I was using more of like the trans to
Yeah, you could downshift
slow down
and use
as
the
well
trans
as
to slow the
tapping the
car
brakes,
down. But it really comes down to the first time we sent Elise down the track, we made sure that, you know, all the nannies were on. So we had dynamic traction control was on.
Basically, I was driving like a little bitch.
I wouldn't say that you were driving like a little bitch. It
I
was
was.
more so along the lines of, you know, we
Testing
didn't.
the car.
Yeah, and there's other people on the track too, so you need to be mindful of that. You're going to have someone. If you're running the inside lane, someone's going to be to your right. If you're running the outside lane, you're going to have someone running to the left.
And merging too.
And then, you know, coming into the one lane to make the left turn. So you need to be prepared to handle any sort of situation in the rear-wheel drive car. So it's not that you're a bitch. It's just that, you know, you've never had that M3 at those level of speeds, you know, with the Conti tires the first time we went?
No, we actually had aligned the car, which I forgot to say. We aligned the car before I went to the track because we knew the Conti tires were, first of all, they're horrible. That's what the car came with. I drove on them for about 2-ish years.
I don't think we went to the first event
did.
with the Contis.
We did.
We didn't put the Niddles on until the second event.
We did. Because I said it handled beautifully. The whole thing between the suspension, we lowered the suspension, we adjusted the dampening, and we had the tires on the car.
You're right. Nassim and I did the Olins. Yeah, I think that.
Because my tires were shot.
Okay, so you're right.
Yeah, so we put Nittos on the M3. Matt can go into a little more detail in a few minutes about that, because he was the one that picked the tires for the car, and I was really apprehensive at first because, like I said, I usually run all seasons, run flats, but on the M3 I had summers on them, so I had never run anything besides that on the M3. All my other vehicles, all seasons, run flats, whatever, but I hated the alignment when we first got it aligned. Shout out to Sal's Auto Works. They did a great job, but I hated it for street driving because it just felt, it felt cocked the wrong way. It felt like it was going to the left, but the steering wheel was kind of to the right a little bit. But then I realized that we had it aligned for the track. And
so yeah, Sal's a G. We told him we're going roll racing at Pocono, and he set up the alignment for that left-hand turn. And so at least had the what's the word I'm looking for? Almost the feeling that vehicle was pulling when she was driving it, daily driving it. But we purposely had that alignment set up for that left-hand turn to be able to give her better control as a beginner, right? You can give it to an expert. They can be able to do what they can with the car with a bad alignment, but we wanted at least to be 100% safe, right? And then in addition to that, we also had to buy helmets.
Yes.
Right? We don't need a fire suit because there's slower shit out there in that stock G80.
Bitch car.
And no roll cage, obviously. So it was a pretty cool event. I think that I didn't roll it, right? No, it was only you.
Yeah, I was the only one who rolled in June. So funny enough, we went June, July, October. As you can see, obviously I got into it. Again, fuck you, but thank you. P-Car, K-Car, P-Car, K-Doka, R-Doka. Fuck you guys, but love you guys at the same time. But the first event was really cool. Everyone was really nice. Obviously, I think I was like one of two females there. It was a really low-key day because it was a makeup day. There really, I would say there was probably like 30 cars max.
Yeah, it was a pretty light event. Yeah.
It was really cool. I basically was like going round and round, but like you would obviously have to come off the track at a certain point until like they were like, okay, you guys could just keep hot lapping it if you want to. Had a great time. Nassim came in with me the first couple of times on the track, and then Matt came in with me because you're allowed to have one passenger as long as they're wearing a helmet and a seatbelt, obviously. So then when Matt got in the car with me, I was getting like into the swing of it, and I was like obviously understanding like where I needed to shift, how quickly I needed to shift, where I needed to brake, where I needed to downshift. And it was
I think one of your biggest, not problems, but one of your hurdles you had to overcome was at the end of the third mile, right? So at your end cones, in that particular vehicle, the way it's set up, you're sitting at the top of fourth. And the way the vehicle is power, right? The power output, you're either going to go in a fifth or you're going to ride out fourth. So with the car being slow and, you know, at least being inexperienced for the first time ever on a track, I was in the passenger seat explaining to her, don't short shift out of fourth, hold fourth.
Yeah.
Right. It's a manual manual, by the way, guys, rear wheel drive. So even more difficult for first time on the track. But I told Alicia, hold that fourth. You're going to hit the rev limiter. You won't hurt anything. Let the car bounce off the rev limiter. And I think the first couple times she went to those end cones, we were passing the cones, either about to bounce off the rev limiter or hitting the rev limiter right before we hit the cones.
Yeah, it was a couple times I did. But basically the first event in June was really cool. Then July, again, PCAR, K-Doka, R-Doka. We're like, oh, do you guys want to come back to Pocono with us? And I looked at Matt. It was literally like last minute, like literally Saturday. We had to go Sunday.
Well, in all fairness, it was more of like a threat. Yeah. He's like, you know, you're coming. And he's like, I'm not taking no for an answer.
Yeah, like, he's like, just come.
And he's smart. He's like, you doing anything tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, we got nothing planned. He's like, you're coming. And we're like, no, we're good. He's like, no, you're fucking coming.
What's funny is July's event, I was like, oh, no, we're not going to go. We're not going to go. I was like, I forget. We had a like busy month that month. And I was like, oh, no worries. Like we didn't buy tickets for it because obviously you had to buy tickets for it in advance. I didn't buy any tickets for it. I was like, oh, we'll just not go. We'll go to the next one. Right. No, we went. Well, it was a Saturday. So preparing for Sunday.
Yeah, I had to do an oil change the night before. I checked the air pressure. You know, you have to run through a quick checklist in the car before you just drive it all the way out to PA and, you know, beat the piss out of it. And by the way, Kristen's a real badass. I think the first time June, in June, I believe, I could be wrong, but June, she took Nassim for a ride in the 911. And I want to say she was trapping 188, 189, 187. I don't know if she ever cracked a 190 class, right?
I think she did, but it was after Nassim got out of the car because obviously more weight in the car, you're not going to obviously trap a higher speed. So Nassim got out of the car and I think she went like 191 or 192 her last like 2 shots of the day.
Yeah, so she's a real badass.
Yeah.
She had that Porsche going down straight like an arrow. So what I want to touch upon is going to the track, right? From our perspective, and the reason why not that we didn't want to go, but you know, it's like we're busy, right? And to shut down for the day and go to the track is a lot of work. Number one, you know, we got to turn the phones off and operate email only. It's not really feasible to answer your phone at the track. So it's something that has to get planned in advance, and it costs money, right? So time is money. And money is time. So if we're going to close down, you know, there is going to be a hit there on that side. And then you have your fuel, you have your wear and tear on the car, tires, brakes, your oil changes. You know, it's looking into it from a different scope as far as, you know, what is this expense going to be out of pocket? It's thousands of bucks when you sit down and you look at your, you know, okay, expenses, maintenance, gas, food, the tolls to cross the Delaware. I know it sounds crazy, but you know, it all adds up and it costs money to shut down for the day to go out there. So when you see these newer shops that are closing to go out there, just know that it's not easy to do that. And then the planning needed to also load up, you know, a truck to carry all the parts, which is not feasible. And I thought it was 1, 2, 3. Second time in July, I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this again because you got to load the tools in the back of the truck, RX-5.
The jacks.
Yeah, you got to unload them. You got to get certain tools. It's cumbersome. It's really annoying. Ideally, you want to have a pickup truck or you want to have a trailer able to pull all of that stuff. And that's what we're going to focus on for tomorrow, 2025. We're going to focus on trying to source an enclosed trailer with at least a couple cabinets in the back. And then, you know, pull that with the E70 for now until we get a diesel variant of same set E70 or move on to a pickup truck.
Yeah. So, like I said, went back in July again with PCAR, K-Doka, R-Doka. Last minute, Matt looked at me like, are you fucking crazy? It's Saturday at like 3:00 and you're saying yes to this? And I was like, fuck it. Like, it is what it is.
In all fairness, I believe that same day when he told us you're coming, He was dynoing his BMW.
He was
He
dynoing
He's
his G80. Yeah.
fucking crazy. He
Yeah.
was literally adjusting some last minute stuff, dynoing it the day before RaceMotive in July, which I believe was July 21st. June 28th, July 21st. Yeah.
So went back July. Again, really chill event on a Sunday. Not a lot of people. Got in as many laps as I wanted to. I think I probably did both in June and July. 10 to like 12.
Yeah, hands down. I would say minimum 10. Now, July was the day, July 21st was when I rolled the car.
Yes,
right?
that was the first time you rolled. Yes.
So I want to say her best time was 140.2 something.
Was it? I thought it was 140.
Let's call it 140.25. And I had taken it out.
It was like the last round of the day, too. He decided, I'm going to go out just for 2 shots, right? I was like, okay, cool. Here are the keys. Helmet's in the car. Go for it, right?
No burnout. And Pocono's really cool. You can do a roll. Has to be a roll and burnout. You cannot do a still, but you can't just sit there and roast the rear tires and smoke it. You need to be moving. The car's got to be moving. So those windows are expensive. I didn't feel like roasting them too bad. So I just rolled the car out there, and I believe I went 140.75 on the first pass. And Elise was pretty upset that I went, in this case, a half a mile faster than she did.
Yeah, I was not happy about it. But listen, Matt, I will say Matt has obviously a little bit more experience in driving than I do. Obviously, he's older than I am by a few years. But I think I have been driving manual longer than you have, which is fine. But yeah, Matt has more experience, I would say. And he's a little more...
Yeah, but by default, because I'm so much older than you, it doesn't matter. I've been driving manual longer than you. I have more miles under my belt. You know,
debatable. But anyway. Yeah. So he went out, did one. He shot out once. I think it was actually your second time. It wasn't your first time. Your first time you had like 139, and then your second time you hit 140 and change.
I think it may have been, but the first time I was just trying to feel the car.
Yeah. So he was just trying to get into the groove of it. Like I said, he had been in the car with me a bunch of times at this point between the first event and the second event. And every time we got in the car together, he would scream at me as I was coming out of the third of the mile and around the bend, because obviously you're going around like 120, 130. Obviously, if I'm going that fast, coming down.
And guys, really, the only way to learn this stuff is tough love.
Yeah.
Right? So
we have a lot of tough love.
A lot of you may find that as, you know, well, I don't know what's the word, not disrespectful.
We just know how to give and take.
Yeah, you got to give and take. And, you know, I'll sit there and go, this is fucking wrong. You're fucking stupid. Yeah. You do it the fucking right way, you know, and that's how we feed off each other. But I want to say you never ran the car after I went 140.
No, we shut it down for the day.
I think we shut it down for the day.
That was early start, late. Early start, early ending.
So now let's move on to October 6th, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Now, we're going to make a separate podcast because we'd be doing, you know, disrespecting the scene. We'll get him on the podcast. We'll get, you know what? We'll do episode 3, and we'll get Nassim on the podcast, and we'll explain what happened with the Audi
on October 6th.
On October 6th. So let's exclude what happened with the Audi, so we give Nassim a chance to explain it, because, you know, it's his car. But we'll just know that, we had a little bit of a situation with that, and it sucked because I spent 2 weeks straight rebuilding that engine. First time touching an Audi, first time touching a 2.7, got everything back up Saturday. The event was Sunday. The car was driving great. We don't know if the shifter rod failed or what happened, but, you know, there was a situation where there was a money shift, but we'll save that for
discussion for a different day.
Yeah, well, discussion for a different day, because that's going to be, you know, we'll get in depth into what happened. But October 6th was
a shit show.
October 6th was Beamer Hub showed up, right?
Yep.
Joe finally came out.
Andrew
came out.
Keys was there. It was the closing event for the season, for those of you who don't know. We went because obviously I wanted to go. And it was a shit show. That's all I'm going to say. It was way too busy.
Well, yeah, it's, you know what it is? It was a lot of folks turned out, and we got spoiled. So we got really fucking spoiled this year, because the first event was a Friday, right? 12 o'clock. And it was like
dead.
Perfect, right? The weather was amazing. There was no one out there. We rolled the car like 20 times, unlimited pad. They let you hot lap it.
Yeah. Which they did also in July. July, they did the same thing.
Yeah, they did. July. But now October 6th was the season closer. And unfortunately, that was a literal shit show. It was a nightmare.
It was just a mess.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars out there. RaceMotive, by the way, these guys, shout out. The organizers, you couldn't pay me any amount of money to put an event like this together.
Facts.
Nothing on RaceMotive. It's just a lot of people showed up, and our perspective was, all right, cool, our first time. There's no one here. The weather's beautiful.
I was kind of spoiled with it.
Yeah, we're spoiled. Our expectations were set to always have that atmosphere, and we just having so much fun. It's like, wow, all right, there's other people that want to have fun too. So season closure was a lot of folks. Nothing against RaceMotive.
It was just too many people, not enough time, too many problems on the track, which again, June, July's events, never had any issues. No one spilled, no one broke down, no one spun out, nothing happened. October's event, completely different. Again, to RaceMotive, nothing against you guys. It's just people not, I don't know if it's not maintaining the car, people pushing their car too much, not watching to see what's going on with their vehicles. I don't know. But
well, I think what it comes down to is just, you have more vehicles there. There's a higher percent, there's a higher level of risk associated with more vehicles, right? So it's just, shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
It could be you. It was us and Audi. Look at that.
True.
We had to get towed off the track. We shut the track down, right? So
don't give them too much of a preview.
Well, we were part of the problem too on that season closer. But October 6th, yeah, so Bimmer Hub showed up. He's got the world's most powerful, fastest Gen 1 F chassis, B58, balls to the wall, never dying on it. I'm going to assume well over 1,000, well over 1,100 probably. He was consistently running a $168 all day. Andrew from Keys was running 174
in his G20.
Yeah, G20 M340. He ended up, we'll get to that later on. Next 2 minutes in the podcast, we'll get to our last race event. But Andrew's Keys' B58, their G20 M340 was running amazing, and he drove it there and back.
Yep.
So shout out to Keys. They did an amazing job on that. Shout out to Joe. Amazing job on that.
There was a lot of cool, I mean, I have to say, October's event, there was a lot of cool cars there. There were a lot of Lamborghinis, McLarens, GTRs, a lot of older cars. But it was like cursed. Every time I got on to enter the track to prep, I'd sit there for 30 to 40 minutes because someone spilled or someone broke down. And then the times that I did get onto the track and I was waiting in queue, same thing. So yeah.
We closed out October 6th. Correct me if I'm wrong. P-Car. That was the day his Audi came out, the R8.
It was like the last shot of the day.
Yeah, aim performance. I think he planned it like that.
Yeah.
Sneaky. He wanted to do the mic drop, but aim performance built, I think it's a 3,500 package.
Somewhere around there. It's either 32 or 35.
It's an absolute fucking bullet. Second time down the track, I think the first time was warming up. Second time down the track, they did 218 miles per hour.
And in a third, that's crazy.
In a third mile, that's absolutely, just so you know, the record at Pocono was set by Lambo Assassin in a GTR at 232, I believe. 233 or 232. So that's 218 is, that's some heavy fucking hidden shit right there.
And also for his second pass of the day, that was crazy. Like literally warm up lap and then went right back and did another lap. And I guess they just full sent it and it was insane. But it was really cool to see because P-Car gets very excited when he wins any sort of trophy.
Oh yeah, he loves the trophies.
Same thing with K-Doka, but
yeah, but that car was, well deserved for all of the vehicles, well deserved for a trophy. But it's just that R8 was like, it's hard to explain. It was beautiful coming down the track. I know I talk a lot of shit about Audis, but the R8 is in its own class. 5.2 V10s, you can't compete with them. You can build those things and you can go 240 plus in the half mile, or in this case, roll racing third mile, you're talking about trapping 220 to 230. It's absolutely insane. And just know that the 218 pass in the R8 was on the lowest map possible.
Yeah.
It wasn't even turned up to the highest power output. So that was pretty impressive. That was a pretty cool show for us. And, he goes all in on the effort to get these cars done. So congratulations, that's well deserved. Yeah. No corners cut. Whatever needs to be done is done. So that was pretty cool.
But basically closed out RaceMotive October 6th. It was sad that I couldn't get in as many runs for the day. I think I got in like 4 runs, which was horrible. But, anytime I've gone to the past couple times I've gone to RaceMotive now, 3 times I should say, I just go to have fun. That's basically what it is. Because I know the M3 is just lollygagging right now. We're just having a good time with it. But we did unlock the DME at that point. So I did have an off-the-shelf map, which later we will put a custom tune on it and do a whole bunch of other fun stuff to it. But yeah, for right now, just had the unlocked DME with the off-the-shelf map that we were running. I really didn't get to like push it too hard. So that was that. But then we had another event that we got invited to in October.
So Joe at Beamer Hub rented out the track at Maple Grove for quarter mile quarter mile. So he was trying to set a world record, and he popped a couple axles while trying to do so. And, you know, this was a day he wanted to break into the eights for the first time. He was going, I think, at 9.0, 9.02, 9.1, and he wanted to get into the eights. So Maple Grove, we'll close out the podcast with this because it was the last event of the year for us.
Oh, let me also mention this. So, like I mentioned, I had done all 3 RaceMotives in June, July, and October. I said to Matt, I'm not really comfortable doing this type of racing, so I'll let you do it. You get a feel for it. Call me a chicken, call me a pussy, call me a bitch, whatever you want to do. I'm cool with it. But I was said to Matt, this is going to be you. This is going to be where you're going to stay. Like, this is your lane. I'm going to stay in my lane. And I stood in my lane, and I was really proud of him that day. He just got a feel for the car. Again, first time doing this.
Oh, yeah, you know, I mean, listen, I've done some pretty stupid shit when I was younger. I stopped doing that a long time ago, but this is my first time ever at an official drag strip launching the car for the quarter mile. And we'll get to this in a second, but probably I was happy with the G80 at all 3 events at Pocono. I was not too happy with the vehicle at quarter mile racing. But let's kick back to Maple Grove. Maple Grove was 2.5 hours from where we were up in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. And I said, I am absolutely not driving the car there with the next 5 loaded with parts. It's not going to happen. So we were going to do a U-Haul, load the G80 in a U-Haul, and then we're told, no, you're going to borrow my trailer. I refuse. I'll be upset if you don't take the trailer. So went to grab the trailer and come to see it is a 20-foot trailer. I'm like, shit, I thought this was smaller. We pulled it with the E70. We installed the hitch on the E70 2 days before the actual event down at Maple Grove. I wasn't worried about the E70's ability to tow. It's a V8. It's got, you know, more than enough torque. It actually makes more torque than the diesel does. Yeah, you delete the DPF. Congratulations. But anyway, the torque is there. The transmission is not necessarily, you know, ready to tow. You need to keep that in your manual selection mode at all times, because if you keep it in full auto, you're going to be hunting for gears, and those solenoids are going to get super hot, and then it's not good for the trans. But we installed the hitch 2 days before, went to grab the trailer. First time ever pulling a trailer in my entire life, so I'm shitting bricks, right? Every single noise I hear from the back.
It was also an early morning, too.
Yeah, it was early morning, but that trailer is just, it's hard to explain. The track on that G80, when it's loaded up on the trailer, the tires are this close to the edge of the trailer. And I trapped down double what I had to do to make sure it was secure. But again, I'm shitting bricks. We're pulling, you know, 6,000 pounds with the trailer. And every single bump I hit, I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I'm making sure the G80 didn't move. We stopped a couple times in the way. Checked. Oh, you should always stop and check the traps. But I'm literally shitting bricks because it's like the fear is that this car is going to fall off the trailer. I know that sounds crazy. Psychologically, it's something wrong in my head. But yeah,
it's also new.
Yeah, it was a little scary pulling that G80 all the way out to Maple Grove. So the one thing, excuse me, the one thing we had to replace before we towed was the parking brake didn't work. There's a big actuator that costs way too much fucking money that we had to replace in the E70, the electronic parking brake actuator. So we replaced it. So I'm still shitting bricks in the middle of fucking nowhere, Pennsylvania, and I smell something burning. This could have been a coincidence, by the way. I smell like rubber burning. And I go, what the fuck is that? So Nassim's like, yeah, it's a rig in front of us. It's a semi. I'm like, dude, that truck's been gone for like an hour now. There's no way it's a rig in front of us. Now, 30 seconds after Nassim says that, the trifecta, which is your ABS, your brake light, and your traction light. And I go, fuck me.
Christmas tree.
Ding, ding, ding. And then no power. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Pull off to the side of the road. We bought our scan tool, pulled up at some fucking gas station on the side of the road because I'm in a trailer. We can't even pull into the quick check. I'm on the side of the quick check on a side road. I scan the car. A bunch of erroneous CAN communication codes. The DME's down. The parking brake's down. The VTG, which is your transfer case, is showing error. So I'm like, maybe I popped the transfer case. We can still drive, just we don't have all-wheel drive. And then Nassim says, hold on one second. We have no communication possible whatsoever with the electronic parking brake. And he gets under the truck real quick, and I hear click. The connector for the electronic parking brake backed out. You plug that back in, all the codes were gone, the transmission was not blown, transfer case was not blown, and we were able to make our way to Maple Grove. So now Maple Grove was pretty cool. Joe hosted it and somehow got some of the world's fastest G80s out there. Autocroft was out there. Keys Motorsports was out there. M Powerhouse was out there.
STI Mikey
showed up, but he didn't drive. I introduced myself. Super cool guy. He just explained to me briefly, listen, the prep is not what we want. I can't disrespect that. That car is making a lot of fucking torque, 1,600 horsepower. He doesn't want to run it. He doesn't want to run it. So he can sit there and talk shit. He's got one of the world's fastest G80s. No one else really comes close in relation to what he's running at the quarter mile. So
a lot of big names are out there that day with us at the track. It was really cool, but it was a private event, so I think there was maybe 15 cars.
Yeah, there wasn't many. I would say 15 cars, including us. So I want to say Empire House is running high eights all day. That was impressive. Keys had his twin turbo. It wasn't a single turbo setup. Built, I think it was a built engine. I could be wrong, but his green G80, yeah,
hybrid turbos.
Hybrid. So it was a hybrid setup. He was running low nines all day. Him and Andrew went heads up, and I
beating the piss out of that car.
I think Andrew beat him, right?
He did. Yeah.
Andrew beat him in his.
I think Andrew set a record that day. Joe set a record that day.
Yep.
And I think it was just the two of them.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan set his own record
well,
too.
That was a different story.
Yeah, it's a different story. Yeah, he's the only guy that brings an Audi R8 to a BMW G80 shootout. But yeah, no, his R8 went 7.8 at
first run.
First pass, 7.8 seconds in a quarter mile at 196 miles an hour. And that's on the lowest map.
Yep.
But again, that's a different league, so we're not going to compare it to a G80. Yeah. Anyone that has a G80 that's going to sit there and talk shit about an R8 and try to compare a G80 to an R8, you got to go get your fucking head checked. They're two different cars. You'll never be able to be on that power level. All right. Yeah. Now, us running the G80, me, we towed it because I wanted the trailer in case we popped an axle. I wanted the trailer. Or
anything had happened. Yeah.
Pop the clutch. We don't want to have to worry about towing a car back 3 hours to Jersey. Now, the mindset was wrong on my end because, okay, cool, we pop an axle. We got to push it on the trailer.
Yeah.
That's no fun. Then we got to get it off the trailer back at the shop. We got no parking here, right? There's nowhere to really put the car. It's going to be dead. So it's like the second pass, both passes, I want to say the fastest time I had. And again, I didn't dump the clutch that hard. I did a little baby burnout. I didn't want to kill the clutch when I realized we're 3 hours from home. We got to push a car, dead car on a trailer, dead car off the trailer. I don't want to do that. Let me just see what it's going to do. Second, 2 runs and I shut it down. I ran a 12.0 flat at 120 something miles an hour. The two things I did not like about the quarter mile in the manual G80, wheel hop, that entire rear end was just making weird noises and it was hopping bad going down the track, not just at launch. So most likely we need to upgrade the diff brace. And then also
it's not most likely, it's 100% because even on daily driving, it's vibrating, like the drive shaft, everything's vibrating right now. Obviously, we've used and abused it this past spring, summer, fall season by all these events.
Yeah. And then the second thing I didn't like was both passes. After I passed the finish line, it gave me ding, 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 damage to vehicle detected. So there's one of these fucking airbag sensors. I just didn't like that, BMW would design a car that's meant for racing. And, I didn't even use launch control, which I could have, but I feel like, on a prep track, launch control is going to do more harm than good. And when I say prep, this track was prepped. I think, so One Stock, may he rest in peace, was out there with his M240 and the drive shaft, I believe, just completely blew out. And the guys that were going down the track to get him, their shoes were getting stuck on the track.
It was actually funny because everyone pretty much that was there that day, between Joe at Bimmer Hub, Andy at Keys, Brian at Keys, all these guys just kept going and going and going and going and going. They would get off and come back on, get off, come back on. And same thing with one stock. He got off, came back on, got off, came back on. So they were using and abusing their cars the whole day.
All these cars did, they put in the work, right? All these cars were running really, really good. But as far as the JD goes, we're going to really kind of reassess what we're going to do we're still going to build it. We're going to go crazy. We're going to do 15, 16, 1700 horsepower, but we're going to keep it strictly for half-mile racing, right? It is rear-wheel drive. We're never going to be able to get those quarter-mile times even close to these all-wheel drive cars. We're never going to be able to really do anything too crazy with all racing. Impressive, but nothing crazy, right? So we're going to build it for half-mile racing. And really, in 2025, maybe 2026, we're busy. We got to put the customers first. We'll see if we can hopefully one day take home the world's fastest manual transmission BMW in the half-mile shootout. So on the way back from Maple Grove, hard to explain. I was no longer shitting bricks. I felt like I was doing 80, 85, 90 flying down the Pennsylvania Turnpike. It's just you need to be awake and attentive at all times. They were doing some construction on the PA Turnpike, and the shoulder was gone. So, I'm not really flying, and in traffic, cars want to pass you when they see a car pulling a trailer with another car. So you need to always watch both of your mirrors, all three of your mirrors. And it got a little it's tiring. You can't take a break when you're pulling a trailer. You need to be alert 24/7 to remember that you're pulling, 6,000 pounds of weight behind you. But hard to explain. The way home, I was a master. It's like now the fare is gone. I wasn't shitting bricks. It's like, load me up any day and I'll pull it with the E70. A diesel variant, though. I'm not going to do it with gas again. But yeah, no, we had a pretty cool year with raw racing and drag racing. I wanted to do this podcast just to give you guys some insight into our feedback on how we enjoyed it, what we liked, what we didn't like. And yeah, I mean, we're going to get into SEMA on episode 3 and we'll go over what happened with the Audi. Save that for a different day. And we'll discuss, we got a 1500 horsepower P58 build we're working on here. We got our own G80 build that we're going to get into and some other cool projects with some M54s that going on.
S55.
We got an S55 build that should be the world's fastest manual transmission, F82 M4. We're building that one. So a lot of cool shit going on. And we're all
lots of projects.
We're all going to put that into separate podcasts. So I will turn this over to Elise and let her close it out.
But yeah, overall, I would say we had a really good... I would say it was the second half of the year, starting in June, really. The second half of 2024 was really good to us. We had a really good time with roll racing. I think Matt had a good time.
Oh, yeah.
At the dig racing
had a great time. Yeah.
It was a really cool experience. And I can't wait to see what 2025 holds in store for us because, like Matt just said, we have a couple cars that we are going to be building that are going to have a lot of power to them. And hopefully we can get the whole crew out to come with us to a couple events and see what the cars throw down. But yeah, anyone have any questions, you can leave them down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to watch out for episode 3 with Nasim. Thank you guys for watching.